before I could get over the bridge. But no, Lena Dunham's actually sort of okay looking, like really, really pretty, as a matter of fact. And, you know, through the magic of television and editing and lighting and makeup, she could be, I'm sure, if she wanted to, on TV, smoking hot. Yet she seems to only go for bad naked. It's like, how many fat rolls can I make myself have? Can I film myself from behind while bending over to tie my shoes naked? Or like, it's just every angle at which she is caught naked is, I think, carefully calculated to be the least flattering naked angle possible. Why she does that, I'm not sure. I think she wants a representation of real nudity on the show as opposed to sort of like porny, photoshopped nudity. She wants a realistic representation of what nudity is like, and she's getting it by catching bad naked on a regular basis. But I'm sure she could look pretty awesome too. But no, it's a calculated effort to, like I said, look like a creature that lives under a bridge that's going to ask you riddles 3 before she lets you cross it to her lady parts. Anyways, NBC Nightly News anchor Brian Williams, who happens to be Allison's father, Allison, of course, being the character on Girls Who Underwent From Behind what, Funkhauser?
Something like that.
Yeah. It's just, for some reason, that's a little disturbing, and I don't know why. It's funny, but do it a couple more times. Yep. Anyways, Brian Williams, Allison's father, weighed in on the release of the new season's first episode, in which his daughter, who was, by the way, recently critically panned for her performance in Peter Pan Live.
Did we say she was super fine yet, Allison Williams?
You know, a lot of people, it's so funny. It's so funny. Like on the show, they're talking about, like, she's looking for a job, and they're like, oh, you can totally get a pretty girl job. You're pretty enough to get a pretty girl job. You're not pretty enough to be a model, but you could totally get a pretty girl job. And that's exactly what she does. She becomes like a hostess at a restaurant where they only hire pretty girls to be hostesses, and she gets paid way more than any other job that she was doing. It's an interesting one. That is her level of hotness. She's pretty enough for a pretty girl job, but not pretty enough to be a model. Do you find her to be super fine?
Well, I'm looking at her on Google, and you know, she's on the top half of the fine category, I think.
Yeah. No, I mean,
maybe not super fine, but she's up there.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a very good way of describing it. I wonder if in real life she does. What was that thing, Funkhauser? Yeah. Anyways, during the interview, Brian Williams was asked how he felt about his daughter's performance in the scene, which aired while Sunday evening's Golden Globe Awards were being hosted in Los Angeles. And he said, quote, "She's always been an actress. For us, watching her is the family occupation, and everybody has to remember it's acting. No animals were harmed during the filming. Nobody gets hurt." Basically, Brian Williams is saying that everyone in America saw his daughter getting her butthole licked, and he's okay with that. Glad her career's on track. He's got to be proud. I don't know. How would you feel if your daughter had that happen to her on camera in a fictitious sort of way, Funkhauser?
I like how you said on camera in a fictitious sort of way. I think I'd be more okay with it then. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, you let her live her life.
Yeah. It's true. I mean, look, you work with people that have that done in a non-fictitious way on camera on a regular basis, and that's their...
That's how I learned that sound.
Right, that's... unclean. You know what else is unclean, I think? The White House's approximation of what happened in the Paris terrorism event, where 12 were gunned down by Islamic extremists for daring to print a cartoon of the Prophet Muhammad in the satirical magazine Charlie Hebdo. The White House has gone on the record saying it's not accurate to call Paris terrorism the work of radical Islam. They said it's completely illegitimate justification for this violence. Well, the justification is, of course, completely illegitimate. Gonna kill 12 people over a cartoon? That's crazy! But it doesn't change the fact that it was done in the name of Islam. I mean, there's lots of things that are completely illegitimate justifications. The legitimacy of the justification doesn't change what it was, doesn't change the fact that it was done in the name of this religion. During yesterday's press briefing, NPA's Mara Liaison said, the leader of France, your ally in this effort, has put a name on this ideology. He calls it radical Islam. You, the White House, have bent over backwards to not ever say that. There's got to be a reason. Josh Earnest launched into their defense, saying, the first is accuracy. We want to describe exactly what happened. These are individuals who carried out an act of terrorism, and they later tried to justify that act of terrorism by invoking the religion of Islam and their own deviant view of it. There wouldn't have been an act of terrorism if Charlie Hebdo wasn't taking pot shots at their religion and the Prophet Muhammad. There wouldn't have been an act of terrorism in the first place. They were offended by a magazine poking fun at their religion, so they killed people in the name of Islam. So let's just, backtrack for a second and shoot holes in that particular theory that they later tried to justify their act of terrorism by invoking the religion Islam. If it wasn't for the religion of Islam, there wouldn't have been an act of terrorism in the first place. So saying this was retroactive, no, it's ridiculous. The second is, he said, this was an act that was roundly condemned by Muslim leaders. Well, of course it was. Of course it was. If it was roundly condemned by Muslim leaders, that means that Muslim leaders are normal people, and that's great. But the people that are doing the killing are not. Everybody knows it's wrong to kill 12 people over a cartoon. That's why it was roundly condemned by Muslim leaders. Muslim leaders went, oh, God, that's awful. They killed 12 people? I mean, we weren't fans of the cartoon, but it doesn't warrant killing 12 people. What the hell? It doesn't change the fact that this was done in the name of Islam. Anyways, he continued saying, I'm describing to you the reasons why we have not chosen to use that label because it does not seem to accurately describe what happened. We also don't want to be in a situation where we are legitimizing what we consider to be a completely illegitimate justification for this violence, this act of terrorism. Again, I'm not going to criticize anybody who uses that label. I'm talking about the way we are talking about this and what we are trying to be as specific and accurate as possible in describing what exactly occurred. So much BS. Hey, thanks so much for hanging and being part of my radio family. Be back tomorrow. We'll do it all over again. One more time, Funkhauser. Other times you feel like it's cool to turn the other cheek and give people the benefit of the doubt even when they don't deserve it. And sometimes you feel good about yourself for being a better person and doing that. Well, this is not one of those times.